say when there are no words. Feel a song that's never been heard. How do you know when you hear the call? What do you do when you've done it all? Cannonball, 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 cannonball. It's not what you do, it's how you do. Be anything you want to be. It's not what you got, it's how you use it. You be you and I'll be me, it's just a matter of style. You can't fake it, mile after mile, feeling free. If you got the soul, you can make it. Move 'em out, let 'em roll, from sea to shining sea. Ball, cannonball. What do you do when the mountain is there? How do you answer the challenging dare? And when your back's against the wall, what do you do when you've done it all? Cannonball, 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 cannonball. It's not what you do, it's how you do. Be anything you want to be. It's not what you got, it's how you use it. You be you and I'll be me, it's just a matter of style. You can't fake it, mile after mile, feeling free. If you got the soul, you can make it. Move 'em out, let 'em roll, from sea to shining sea. Ball, cannonball. Hey, now cannonball, 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 cannonball.
Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below. Apex.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. This is indeed the Apex Online Racing F1 2018 Season 16 round number 18 here at the Circuit of the Americas in America. My name is King-Kodiak and I'll be one of your commentators throughout this evening's race. Joining me in the commentary box, always happy to say, returning to my side is the one and only Mr. Hamish Sopwith.
Yes, good evening everyone. Hopefully we're going to have a good race at COTA today. It's quite a track and Denoso has left the session.
Well, you've dropped out of the session on my screen, but hopefully we haven't got a lobby problem. Hopefully we haven't got a lobby problem already, but you should have a spare invite to look at. 14 drivers join us for this evening. Quite a few people out of 14. There was a 24-hour race, sorry, a 12-hour race, beg your pardon, that preceded today's event. So a few people are left a little exhausted as a result of that. So hopefully they're okay. But we should still have some amazing driving nonetheless for this evening. Now, I wish to draw, whoops, wrong button. I wish to draw your attention, you the lovely viewer, to the standings. there they are. Now, due to penalty changing and other stewards' inquiries, Formula Danny was actually given the win from last week's race in Suzuka, which put David Tanita in second. What that means for the championship is only those two are able to take the title. Now, as you can see, David Tanita leads the way by 75 points, 3 clear wins. Now, what this essentially means is if Tanita outscores Danny by just 1 point, doesn't matter where in the field they are, if David Tanita takes a 1 point over Formula Danny, then the championship is his. If Formula Danny manages to outscore Tanita, then it will go down to the next round, but it then becomes much more difficult unless that points deficit is pretty huge. If Tanita sticks it in the wall, then that's one issue that he'll have to deal with. That obviously makes the championship decider much more interesting for next week, but we will see how that plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always quite daunting, especially when you know you pretty have a very slim chance of winning the championship. Like Formula Danny, I've been in the situation before where I've been, but a few rounds from the end, you pretty much know it's not going to happen. All he can do is try his absolute best and give 110% every single time, and hopefully he can make it a close fight to the end. Obviously, Danny had his own not to say issues. He had his, personal things got in the way and what have you, meant he wasn't able to attend a few races. Had he been here for the whole season, who knows where he would have been. But it is what it is. And I'm sure he's going to give Tanisa a good run.
We shall see, we shall see. Whilst the sighter laps come in, we are going to switch over to our hot lap footage as driven by Formula Danny and commentated on the incredible Austin Knight.
Howdy, howdy, howdy everyone. My name is Austin Knight and we are on board with Formula Danny here at the wonderful Circuit of the Americas. First corner is up this massive hill. I sometimes call him Phil. Hard on the brakes and into the apex, and then immediately onto the throttle and down through turn 2. Under the bridge and into the American S's of 3, 4, and 5. Turn 6 is a long right-hander. Keep those reds up because it sets you up for the sharp left-hander of turn 7. Up the hill and to the right of turn 8, and then across the blind turn 9. Blinking, you'll miss it. Here's turn 10. Down this little short chute we go, up into turn 11, hard on the brakes, slamming it into the apex, and then immediately onto the throttle and down this over half a mile back straight, taking the wonderful Texas views, sinking in, best place on earth. But wait, harder on the brakes, it's turn 12. Flip that apex and enter the arena. It's turn 13. Bunch of slow corners in here. Make your moves right. Turn 14. Clip the apex of turn 15. Wide entry. Hard on the brakes. Turn 16. Down and around the tower we must go of the multi-apex corner of turn 17 and 18. Say hello to the fans over on Haas Hill. Slamming into turn 19. Down this little short chute we go into the last corner. Keep it right. Keep it tight. It's turn 20. And across the line. And that is a lap around Circuit of the Americas.
Gotta love Austin. Great job there and well driven by Formula Danny. Well, then let's check in with everybody to see who is where. And speaking of our Mercedes hot lap runner, there he is, just taking the pole time with a 1:29.690. Now, the PS4 guys earlier were running a 30.0 in their league, and so the sighter laps have come in a little bit quicker. So, who is going to be running what? Most people have come out and done a sighter lap. Only 14 drivers with us. As mentioned, we do have a few people absent. Notable one was our newcomer, Mr. Larito, who managed to get 10th last time out, so a decent score for him getting on the points board. Sadly, he was moving house and his internet is not set up in his new place. Not really anything he could do about that, in fairness. So he will not be with us. So quite a few other people either not well or quite exhausted from the 12-hour race of Sebring that happened over this same weekend. So we wish everybody well. At the moment, we have got, as a Formula Danny on the top spot, Carrington 2, Tanita in 3, Marek 4, and Tim just returning to the Pit lane. In 5th position, then Jan Fader, Photon, Prationader, Bianca Leader, Non-Runner, Donoso, Railgon, Gerrix, and Matt Sorensen.
Yeah, absolutely. Something quite interesting to note is the 2 Mercedes drivers, that's Formula Danny, we're actually using the slipstream down that back straight, which is 1.1 kilometers long, and that is probably what gained Danny the whatever it was 2.5 attempts to get him that provisional pole position. It was a very good lap. He seemed to hit all his braking points pretty much perfect, at least from when I could see, and I joined him halfway down the pit straight. But Mercedes guys definitely used quite a bit of strategy. So does that mean that Tunitsa is at a slight disadvantage because his teammate isn't here today?
Could well be. Could well be. It's unlikely that anyone else is going to give him a tow. And someone in chat does also point out that the PS4 guys were running a wet setup. They were certainly running a wet setup in the race, but their qualifying was bone dry. So I'd be surprised if they... Well, they may have been. They may have qualified on their wet setups. I'd be a little surprised, but there we go. As Tanita doesn't improve from 3rd position. I think he got a little bit closer in time, but not in just 100ths of a second. 11,000ths of a second separates him and Carrison. But that's nearly 3/10 that Danny has got for himself up on the top spot. So, unfortunately, I'm actually getting a little bit of game lag there, so apologies for that. There's an absolutely squat I can do about it. I'm a little surprised by that because that's the first time in a while I've had that particular problem, so apologies there. Hopefully, we've been beset by a few technical issues for the last few races. Hopefully, we won't get too many of them in this evening's race. Looking forward to this one. I do enjoy Kota. What's your thoughts on it, Hamish?
Yes, it's a great track. It's one of the modern tracks, Herman Tilke design track, and it's one of the ones which have really. It doesn't feel like, you know, we've had tracks in the past, came and gone. They have been brilliant. I mean, the likes of, obviously it's been taken off the calendar now, but the likes of Malaysia, it didn't have the same impact on Formula One as perhaps this one. And India was another track. It was a new track, state of the art, but just didn't go any. This is one, along with perhaps Singapore and Abu Dhabi, of the new tracks, which have really, you know, made racing fans like the track. And it is a great track to drive. It has a lot of undulation. It has a lot of difficult corners, high speed corners, slow speed. The braking zone to turn on is unbelievable. I mean, as your car darts up the hill, it slows down at almost double speed as Carlton just goes over the line, not improving well. I think he's on an in-lap because he's taking it very, very easy in. But it is a great track. And then obviously you have the Maggots and Beckett section, which is pretty much starts at turn 3 and ends at turn 9, 10. So you need, you know, to be, you know, careful that you don't mess it up at the beginning, because otherwise that's a whole sector ruined.
Denisa has... Denisa had actually jumped up to 2nd. He's just been demoted by Fabrizio Donoso. By 65,000ths of a second, he trails the leader of Formula Danny. So there's a 29.755 for Fabrizio. Very nicely done. So Denisa obviously improved to 29.8. Still on the top spot is Formula Danny. Everybody is out on track now to try and improve on their time. Still just under 7.5 minutes remain. So still all the fight for Formula Danny. I mean, it will be a monumental comeback if he is able to overhaul a 75 points deficit. As Hamish mentioned earlier, Formula Danny has missed a few races this season due to various commitments he's had, and still lies in 2nd with 5 wins, no less, in this season. So, I mean, Tunisia has got 7, I believe. So, you know, still an amazing feat for both drivers, but it's not impossible. We've seen stranger things happen. Tunisia has had some very, very great drives in this season, of course. But we will see how it shakes down. I don't know what the weather is. I'm just going to see if I've been updated on that. 1 second.
Yes, interesting you mentioned the weather. We tend to think of Austin as well, it's in Texas, as pretty much a desert, because it is. But, you know, last year we had rain, and obviously in real life we've had rain, particularly 2016, where they had the rain, where I think they even had to stop the race because of the amount of water on the track, Kodiak. So, Red Lee won last time in the rain, it was a 2-stop strategy, starting on the wet tyre, finishing off on just an indication of what Brendan did last season. That's season 15, of course. He did a 1:31.6. So already, well, obviously the cars are very different this year with regulation changes, but that's still a massive difference, especially around a fairly quick track.
Oh, Formula Danny with a 29.2. Wow, now he had a huge dose of slipstream off the back of Gerrits, who's up to 4th now with a 29.7. Look at that. 2nd to 5th, all 29.7. Preschneider jumping up to 2nd. Great effort for him with a 7.15. Then Denoso, as we previously saw, 7.55. Then Gerrits and now Tino, all both of them within the thousands of a second, 29.773.
Wow.
Oh, we talk about it being close, but that is pretty impressive. Then it's 29.8.
That's incredible.
Then 29.8 for Tanisa, so that'll be interesting if I would imagine he's got more in the tank. And then Bianca leader 29.9 as along with the Vera Carrington and Marek. Then 30.0 for Jan Fehler and Velocity Photon, 30.6 for Non-Runner, 30.7 for Railgon, and Mad Sorensen with a 32, but you would imagine he's got more to find than that. Who's out there at the moment? Just Danny, who's on his way back in, and Preschneider. Preschneider's going very slowly now. A couple of PS4 guys cut it really, really fine with their fuel as well. Only just kind of making it back to the pits before their tanks were bled dry. Now, I believe in the game you can actually crawl with nothing in the tank, but it's down to time on, people were wanting to do another qualifying lap and they were cutting it very, very fine. Someone actually, I forget who, but someone actually didn't get the timing right. They were too low on fuel during their lap, which meant they crawled back to the pits and didn't have enough time to come out and do another one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something you need to keep into mind, because it's not just fuel you want to keep as low as possible. It's your tyre wear you want to keep as low as possible, because if you obviously start on the tyres you qualify on, which means if you're pushing the car around for 3 laps, apart from having a more heavier car to compensate, for obviously the higher fuel consumption by pushing, your tyre wear is going to be higher, and it makes a big difference. It could make as much of being able to pit 1 or 2 laps later in the race. So it does make a big difference. A tactic a lot of these guys will be adopting will be coming out on a very low fuel right at the end. So probably in about a minute, well, just under a minute or so, we'll see the guys come out on very, very low fuel, and it'll be enough for them to do a flying lap. And the aim is, as soon as they cross that line, because the game will automatically retire them, because obviously the timer would have counted down to 0. They should be running out of fuel, and then that could gain them about half a tenth to a tenth alone just by a lighter car in terms of fuel. So it makes a big difference. It's about a tenth a lap, Kodiak, per extra, lap of fuel you put in. It costs about a tenth. So in theory, the driver should always go a tenth quick, providing their tyres are up to scratch.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning this last week actually in Suzuka that when their lap is done, when the checkered flag is fallen, the tyre wear is then doesn't count up any further. So that's again a tactic our drivers will be looking to take advantage of. No rain expected is the weather forecast I've been told. So once again, dry. The PS4 guys nicked all the rain I was hoping for. We've had one wet race all season here in PC F1, which was Spain. Oh, well, Garrick, that looked like you were kicking the tail out coming through turn 1. But as we approach 2 minutes remaining, this will be the time when we have the mad dash, the mad flurry of everyone coming back out on track. And even though Formula Danny with that big 6/10 near enough lead up front, he's still
on a fly.
Denoso's on a fly. There he is. What's coming through turn 1, back down the hill again, through 2, and into the S's, 3 through to 10. Gotta keep the car nice and settled. It's so easy to get this wrong very early, and you're just off into a different state. It just goes horribly wrong. You'd be off in Florida. He's doing well. Now that turn 10 there, that's a really blind apex, and I think it's off camber as well, and that's a bit of a penalty hotspot. So that is something that our drivers are going to have to look out for. I saw someone ask in chat whether Danny had his 5-second penalty removed from the last race. I'll say yes, he did, which is how he inherited the win from David Tanita. how the championship fight is essentially still going. Alvera Carrington has just jumped up into second position in the Williams with that 29.679. Denoso has not got anybody ahead of him to slipstream off of. Matt Sorensen still at the tail of the field with that 32.2.
He's about a tenth and a... Sorry, Kodiak. He's about a tenth. So just coming into that sector now, coming through turn 16 through to 18. It's effectively one long right hand through 19 very fast. Another penalty hotspot on the X up towards 20, braking nice and late. Getting the car turned in early. The line comes up very quick, and it is a 129.658, which doesn't improve his position, but he did improve his line. Oh, invalid.
Yes, because
he must have been turned 10.
He'd have been second with that 6.5. He'd have been just ahead of Carrington. So again, that just goes to show how easy it is, and he is only 10 seconds on the clock. He will not have time to improve. Formula Danny is out there, isn't it? That's his teammate again ahead of him. So Garrix has actually done a qualifying lap on these tyres, and Formula Danny taking every opportunity. DRS open on both cars. There's the slipstream. Garrix jumps out of the way. I thought he might have left it a bit late, but he couldn't have left it any later to jump out of the way. Man Sorensen will start no higher than 14th. Ragon has retired from the session. He'll start in 13th. Non-runner 12. Bianca-Leader's done. Photon's done. 9th and 7th for the Ferraris. Now does Formula Danny improve already? So, well, he's been on the pole spot for quite a while. I would say checkered flag is out, so quite a few people still to... Denoso's retired. He will not improve. We knew that as we saw him cross the line.
He's up in the second sector, that's for sure.
What does Formula Danny manage? It was an improvement again. 29.199. Wow, what a stunner from the championship contender. But Tanitsa did get up to second with a 29.5.
Wow.
And he's got no teammate to slipstream off of. Now, either he found someone to slipstream off, we didn't see his lap complete, or that's an absolute blinder of a lap from Tanita. Everyone running the Ultra Softs, which I'm not surprised about at all. That definitely is the prime tyre that these guys are aiming for. We'll have a look at the pit strategy when we head down to the formation lap as well. So we're looking at... So it's going to be it's going to be an interesting one for the bottom four. Will they opt for, starting on the harder tyre? That wouldn't be a surprise. We will see.
I would if I was there. A bit more chance in the race, especially outside of the top 10. There's not much point following what everyone else is doing. Do something different, trying to move yourself up the grid, pay dividends later on in the race. But Formula Dan is in that best position to get another win, and at the moment, if it finished like this, the championship would go on to the next round in Mexico. Formula Danny on pole, David Tanitsa in second, Frey Schneider in third, Carrington in fourth, Denoso in fifth. That was a good qualifying from him. Danny's teammate in sixth. You can't help think that he was just Danny's wingman, just trying to help him, down the straight. To be honest, seven. Photon in P8. Golina in P9 in the second Ferrari, Marek in P10, and Jan Fehler in P11. In fact, I think starting outside the top 10 isn't necessarily a disadvantage. Plenty of opportunities. Turn 1, even turn 11 on the inside of the hairpin up towards turn 12, getting a good exit. Through the slow sections after 12 all the way up to 15, there's a good chance there. The only place where it's pretty much single file is turn 3 to 10, Kodiak. You're pretty unlikely to make in there unless you're feeling very brave, and it's quite overcast as well.
It is, but as was mentioned earlier, no rain is expected. Whilst we wait for our drivers to join us, let's have another short video from the sponsors. And there it was. Okay, what can we expect from this race then? So I can get the right button. Here we go. The pit strategies then, as we understand them. and it's not worked. That's annoying. That button has worked every time I've tried it, and come race time it's decided to fail me. Either way, it's a one stop, around 6 to 8 for those starting on the ultras, around 16 if you're starting on the softs. And what have people gone for? That's not surprising. 3 soft runners at the back. A super soft for Matt Sorensen. Interesting decision, but so be it. That's what he's gone for.
Have I left? Sorry, have I left the session?
If you have, I haven't noticed it. If you have, I'm not sure you're going to be rejoined because you used your spare invite, didn't you?
No, I have one off you. It's just to leave. I'll have to rejoin.
Okay, well, you've got time. They're still on the formation lap. Still, technical problems aplenty, unfortunately, but we do apologise for it. There's not really anything we can do. We do our best with the way. Oh, there we go. You have rejoined, so you must have binned out at some point. So one more window change should be me set for the rest of the race then. As Formula Danny, again, he's not hanging around. He's got about 1.5 seconds to himself up front. It's not going to do him any favours. Getting away from your competitors now is not really the aim of the game. Well, the uphill braking zone for turn 1 is you can go 3 wide up there. It's pretty wide, but it's going to be pretty frantic, dare I say.
It's quite interesting, Cody. Sorry to mention this, but for a more eagle-eyed viewer may notice that the start line for the race is quite a bit further before the qualifying start-finish line. So they only have about 302 turn 1, rather than considerably more. It'd be about, I don't know, 600 or 700. So that's something interesting to know.
Here we go then. 5 lights. It is time to wind them up and let them. Big old wait again, and away we go. Can anyone topple Formula Danny from that impressive pole time? Here we go. He's going to cut off Tanita coming into turn 1. Nicely done. Very firm defence, and there is 3 wide. That's Garrix, Timp, and Preschneider. There were 3 wide into turn 1. Looks like everyone made it through okay. Tanita is making his statement of intent very, very clear. Nailed to the back of the Mercedes. Everyone working their way through the first few turns. Looks like everyone's made it through okay. I'm not seeing any huge gaps appearing. Timp has lost a position to Garrix in all of that. Matt Sorensen has made up 3 positions. He's got much softer tyres than the 3 ahead. So that's a decent start then for the second Force India. Here they come. They're streaming on down towards turn 11. Everyone looks like they're going to behave themselves. Is that Donoso looking for a move on the inside of Tim? No, not quite. Now on through 11 onto the back straight then. Bit of a wiggle going on from several people. So far so good though. No one needing the pits.
No, absolutely. Donoso lost a couple of positions, so he had a pretty poor start. At the moment, he's right behind Tim, maybe looking for a move down the inside. Ooh. Tim's having a look on the Mercedes of Garrix. They're all braking late. A little bit of contact up from Donoso on the inside. Having Mercedes of Garrix has got a good exit, and so is Tim. Tim's going to try something around the outside. Donoso's still on the inside, however, it's still single file coming up into turn.
We're at 16 now, but wow, again, Tim Garrix really fighting hard there, but yeah, it was very well driven from those guys. And then you got Photon and Bianca Leader and the Ferraris looking to get involved. But up front, Formula Danny has got himself nearly 0.8 of a second over Tanisa at the moment as they come around to complete the first race. Now, Preschneider, great start from him. He's chasing hard after the Renault of David Tanita as they come up to turn 1 once again. How are they going to check out this time? There is Carrington looking to bide his time. Preschneider is not sure. I don't think this is what Tanisa wanted. He did not want someone under his rear wing. He wanted to be piling the pressure onto Formula Danny, but sadly that hasn't quite panned out for him as as they got real close company from Preschneider. Formula Danny can start to, well, is stretching his legs up front. Everybody with the exception are, actually everyone's still within DRS range. Of course they don't have DRS yet, but everybody, we could probably jump on board with non-runner, who's our 14th car. You could just about see the front of the field, so the field remaining very, very tight.
Yeah, absolutely. This track is definitely one where you can use the slipstream to the advantage and the obvious relatively long straights amongst all the track. I mean, apart from the horrific dirty air in that first, but they all seem to be remaining in close quarters, and they're going to get DRS. So the person most under threat at the moment is Danny, who pulled outside that DRS of David Tanitsa. So maybe Preschneider and Caraton are going to have a look at the Renault driver fairly soon. And then obviously Danny's rear gunner, Garrett, is going to try his absolute best to demote the Renault driver as far down as the field as possible. Well, of course, keeping it completely legal. But as always, it looks like we're going to have a great midfield battle and battling throughout the whole of the race.
I think you're right on that one, Hamish. And finally, we've got a gap bit outside of DRS range. Garrix is just about hanging on to it. Jan Fehler was the one that's fallen outside of it, but that's not a surprise. The guys in the back started on the contra strategy. So, of course, they are going to be a bit slower at this stage than everybody else. We're expecting the Ultrasoft to go to round about lap 6 to 8 before those that started on the wood ditch them. Yet Formula Danny has indeed gotten out of DRS range from David Nisa. That could be absolutely crucial in his bid to hang on to his championship fight. But even, you know, if they finish now, the championship fight would still go on, and the championship gap would decrease from 75 down to 68. But you know, it's still very much advantage to Nitsa with 75 points on the board by that stage. Anyway, never mind about that. Let's keep an eye on how everybody is doing. Garrix has lost, doesn't have DRS off the back of Carrington. That gap has extended further than he would like. He's got Tim right with him. Tim had a great ringside seat at Suzuka for when the Renaults were battling very, very hard. We only have one of them this time, so that won't be repeated. But there's going to be a lot of battling going on. But overtaking is, when they're in this kind of train, overtaking is not as easy as you might think, because everybody is slipstreaming and DRSing off the guy ahead. So it's going to take, it's either going to take like a big mistake or a big moment, or just the biggest dive bomb in the world for the positions to change.
Yeah, absolutely. So Caraton has DRS on Freischneider, and Freischneider has DRS on Tonitsa, although we're not able to do anything yet. Although David Tonitsa has closed in with Formula. He is getting a little bit closer. I do think, though, like as you alluded to earlier, Garrix has lost a little bit of time to that top 4. So maybe he just doesn't quite have the pace. And he's, in fact, he's spinning as we speak. And he span out. He just span out in the middle of Maggots and Beckett. So that's such a bizarre thing to do. I mean, you'd think the mechanical grip and the downforce of the car would glue it to the track, but he just span mid-corner. That's very strange, Kodiak. I haven't seen that before.
Well, there we go. It's happened. Yeah, Garrick's making a quite uncharacteristic mistake. But what I suspect he's done, he's just caught the apex too hard. It's unsettled the car, and round it went. You make a single mistake through there, and you're off into the dust, as Garrick's has rather proven. Overtaking going on in a few places, Tim.
The Ferraris are having a great battle. Bankalina just overtook Photon for 7th place. However, they don't seem to be giving up, and Photon's going to have a look on the inside of his teammate, pushing him out wide. A little bit of contact from the 2 Ferrari drivers. Bankalina on the inside now for turn 18 through to 18, and it looks like they have some form of single file, and we'll have to see what it's like when they have DRS down the start-finish straight.
Marek right underneath the rear wing of Photon as well. I mean, there's battling going on everywhere. I'll do my best to try and keep up with all of it. Now everyone's going to have the DRS open. Bianchi does not have DRS off the back of Tim, so surely Photon, is he going to dive on the inside of 1? No, he doesn't. Marek had to think about it as well. And Garrix has actually brought his car in, so he's gone for a very early pit stop, much earlier than we thought. He didn't hit the wall as a result of his spin, so it's not going to need...
I think his tyres overheated, Kodiak. He was... I think they just overheated him. It's very difficult to come back from that once they've got over, about 105 degrees. It's very difficult just to, make to a normal temperature again. So I think he's putting on super soft, so probably doing a 2-stop, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. I can't see the Supersofts lasting 23 laps. But jumping back up to the front, we've got several packs of fighting going on. Formula Danny is back under pressure from Tanita. You can see 2 cars ahead where the leaders are scrapping. Freischneider's bringing Carrington with him, but no, Tanita is biding his time. He's so close. That's the view from the Renault. And this is the view that David Tanita had for a lot of the race in Suzuka, but it was his teammate he was chasing for so long. We'll see then how this shakes down. Formula
that's very uncharacteristic from Freischneider, outbraking himself and let Caraton taking P3 just at the hairpin. That is turn 15. That is one of the places where he said there could be potential overtaking, and there has been an overtake there now, which was Caraton up into P3.
And Fabrizio Donoso is closing in as well, so the lead Force India. Formula Danny is in, so he's decided to bring his Mercedes in early as well. He's essentially copied his teammate Marek in as well. What is Danny? Super soft for Danny. Now that I didn't expect. I thought he would go for the softs.
Oh, he's been held up by the Haas. Held up by the Haas of Marek.
Yeah.
So that is almost definitely demoted him to P2 unless the undercut particularly strong around here. Which, well, especially on super soft tyres, he's not going to be... Oh, Donoso getting himself a penalty. The super soft tyres are not going to be quite as quick as he would want them to be compared to the ultra softs at this point in the race.
Indeed, I mean, that was a long hold for Formula Danny to have to deal with. So I think he's going to be quite a long way down the field once the pit stops have shaken out, unless there's a lot of fighting going on in this lead pack. So that's the top 7 still on their starting tyres. Well, technically, everyone down to 11 is on their starting tyres. I mean, the starting ultra soft tyres. So that's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Formula Danny's behind all of them with the length of time he was stationary for. Yeah, that's just going to be a massive amount of time lost. Zanitza then leads. Alvaro Carreton is chasing hard, then keeping him under pressure. Now, what are these guys going to do? Will we see a big snake of cars coming in? The only people that will suffer if they do that is actually the Ferrari pair of Photon and Biancolilli, because Biancolilli would have to stack behind Photon if they all came in at once.
I'd be close with the Williams guys as well, Kodiak, if they both decide to come in. Although Tim's coming in for Carreton, so they're not going to have that issue now. So it's interesting that actually the Renault and the Williams, and in fact it's interesting that most of the guys continue for another lap as we see Donoso coming up the inside of Frey Schneider, and that's a pretty good move from the Force India driver. So a good job from him. Of course, it's not called. Oh no, what they called now, Kodiak? It's not Force India. It's called Racing Point. So they're still they're still under the Force India name as we speak, at least in the game anyway.
Racing Point Force India if you want to be really, really pedantic. But never mind, we'll move on. As Garrick's actually got his name on the fastest lap board. He's on those super soft tyres now that they're up to temperature. Yep, Donoso with that move on the inside of Preschneider. Unfortunately, Donoso does have a bit of a reputation of opening the penalty board, which he has done this time. Is Carrington going to make a move? And Tanita, look how early the Renault's gone for the defensive line. Here comes the Williams. Now he's going to commit to the outside, coming into turn 12. Is he going to force Tanita into an awkward position? Or is he going to go for an outside move around 13? Alden's now going to switch underneath. Now, this is basically a game of wits. Who's going to blink first? Oh, Tanita with a ping.
Got a good chance. If he gets a good exit, Carreton has a very good chance if he can make his way around turn 60, and he is gaining slowly. He's had to lift off a tiny bit. The dirty air, you can just see pushing the car a little bit out. The dirty air basically means that the car gets a lot of understeer, which is why you can see him wrestling with it so much as they both come into a pit, and that includes Donoso and Frey Schneider and Photon as well, all coming into a pit. Matt Sorensen is going to lead a lap of the Circuit of Americas on lap 8.
He will indeed, so the lead will go over to the second Force India, who started on the super softs. Jan Fehler, he's not far behind him, and he started on softs, so not a bad effort then for the McLaren. Now, that's a big mixture of Formula Danny. He gets the fastest lap, and I was completely wrong. He's jumped the whole lot. He's ahead, and quite comfortably ahead, I dare say. 5 seconds to the good. Now, it could be that how the pit stop looked to us is not how it looked to Formula Danny, but that was the outlap of his life. 5.5 seconds between himself and Carreton. But the biggest loser is Tanita. He's behind all of them. The only person Tanita got out in front of was Photon. He was held behind every single one of that pack that he was previously leading.
Yeah, well, interestingly, Kodiak, I've just looked at the sector times. Donoso and Danny both set the same sector time on their outlap from coming into the pit, so it can't have been as serious as we first thought. Yeah. So maybe it was just something what looked like it. Maybe he wasn't held up for that long. It might have just been 1 or 2 seconds. But like you said, he is a huge amount ahead of the other drivers. He just needs to get his head down and absolutely go for it now. But Tanitsa is, well, he needs to have a race of his life now to really, be able to wheel in the rest of the guys and, well, potentially have a chance of winning the championship on this round, but it's looking not that likely at the moment.
No, he would rely on basically Formula Danny throwing it in the wall at this stage if he wanted to seal the deal today. But stranger things have happened. Speaking of, there he is, sizing up a move on the inside of Formula Danny as he got a face full of grime.
Although, so to interrupt, Cody, I'm not sure if you mentioned, Danny is on those super soft compound tyres, so he will need to pit again. So Danny still, it's not you know,
done with.
Over yet. He can't just slide back. He's still got to push his absolute maximum. He'll probably stick another set of super softs on and go to the end, probably around, I don't know, lap 19 or something. Yeah, 19, 20, I would have thought.
Yeah, I my guess on that one as well. But yeah, but the thing is, Formula Danny is going to have a big old empty track near enough ahead of him. Tanitsa is not going to have that. Yes, Tanitsa will have DRS, but he will have people to fight past. That is going to be the biggest thing. And of course, everyone, look at this pack ahead of him. Now, this is pretty much the pack he's been fighting all race long, but he was leading this pack when he went into the pits and now trailing it. So he's got a lot of people to try and get past, and they're all fighting each other. So that is not going to be an easy feat for David Tanita as Fabrizio Donoso throws it on the inside of turn 12 to get past Alvaro Carrington. So once again, the Force India back ahead of the Williams as they worm their ways through the twisty section, 12 through to 19. Whoop, the cars look like they're very much a handful, the tail kicking out. I don't think it's as bad for the drivers as it appears to us. Marek is on 3.5 old super softs, so he might kind of get involved. Wandering a little bit wide, but I think he's struggling somewhat in the Haas, so he may not get involved to too big a degree. There's Tim just on in the shot with Prejneda and Tanita in short order. Where's Formula Danny? Now 1.8 off the back of Jan Fehler, and you know, exactly as Hamish has said, he will have to come in again. He will be pushing like a complete madman to get through the remaining two cars and just build up as big a gap between himself and Tanitsa that stands currently at, quick maths tells me, that's around about 11 seconds. Now, if we assume around about 25 to 30, oh, Tim, that's rare. Him on the penalty board.
It's about 22 second stop around here. That's a pit lane time loss code.
Okay, so that's the minimum he needs to get. He's halfway there and stands in good stead to continue to build on it. But yeah, he's got a lot of work to do as we're seeing a few people get on the penalty board. As mentioned earlier, this track is a bit of a penalty hotspot as Tanitsa now is back in DRS range of those ahead, particularly Prejneda, but he's too far back to make a move at the moment. He won't have to preserve those softs to too big a I'm looking skywards. It looks very grey, but I'm told there's no rain expected. That would shake them up if it suddenly started raining. Photon on the penalty board. But look,
who knows? Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that's why Danny's gone to those super soft compound tires. He knows something everyone else doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a 1% chance of rain, that is still a chance. As Sorensen comes into the pit lane, he's now just got Jan Fehler to contend with. Will the McLaren jump out, well, not jump out the way, but will he make it slightly easier for Danny? And it looks like he's not going to battle it too much, to be honest with Jan, at least from how he was driving down at start-finish straight. Tim getting himself on the penalty board as well. It's not a race, you don't get extra if you get more penalties, although it might look like that with the amount of times the driver
wrong kind of points.
Yeah, absolutely. A point per 3 second penalty. Otherwise,
that would be total carnage, I think.
That'd be interesting.
That's one word. But yeah, I mean, bearing in mind that those tyres have done Jan Fehler 10 laps already. So yeah, exactly. I don't think he's going to be fighting it too much. We say before about drivers knowing who they're realistic. There you go. He didn't even have an opportunity to. He either lifted or just Formula Danny just dumps the battery and off he goes. Then into the distance. But look at this lot. Look at this. That is Donoso, Carrington, Railgun, and Marek all in this. Whoa! Donoso and Carrington both nailing the Sauber. And they got the Haas as well. Oh wow, Marek is...
Tanitsa's having a go on the inside of the Williams of Tim. He's still on the inside, maybe for turn 15. Is he going to try the switchback? It did, but it didn't work out. That was very close to contact, and if he's not careful, he'll lose his front wing, Renault driver, but he's got his head screwed on, so he should be alright.
Yeah, but this is the last thing he needs. He doesn't want to be behind people fighting. We've seen Tim rack up a surprising amount of penalties already in this race, so Tim will essentially lose his position anyway, but that doesn't stop you pushing on and fighting as hard as you can. But this is not what Tanita needs. He just wants to get clear of people. He needs to do it quickly, but it isn't happening. So at some point, also, the Prationator has gotten past Tim, so Tim's having a horrible race at the moment. Now, he did get a 5-second stop-go penalty. By and large, those are appealed. The 3-second ones, such as that one, demonstrated by Railgun, generally are not unless you're forced off the track. And like I said before, it's so easy just to get your line wrong and fly offline, so I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, there goes Tim again, just pushing a bit too hard on the exit of turn 9. They now stream on down to turn 11. That was Railgun getting a bit wide. Coming through that one, he's going to be under pressure from his teammate, but Marek now at the back of this particular pack, and that's Donoso, a non-runner swapping position. Wow, the Force India absolutely flew past the Red Bull. No answer there from non-runner, but those tyres are quite a bit older on the Red Bull than they are on the Force India. That's third for Donoso.
Yeah, absolutely. Freshnader's having a go on his teammate Railgun and successfully. In fact, what is Railgun doing? He's just stopped.
He might be just letting them go. He might just decide, this isn't my fight.
That's odd though, because it is for position, and presumably he's coming. If his tires are completely shot and gone, presumably he's coming to a pit. So I don't know why he just let everyone pass. I mean, fair play to him, but I mean, I still would have tried to put, because if he's. Because that would have lost him a lot of time.
Yeah, I think as we're looking at Marek also putting a move on non-runner. I think Railgun is a reserve driver these days. He may not have wanted to influence the championship battle, so just thought, no, don't fancy that, and jumped out of the way. And again, you realistically know who you're in a battle with. If he didn't feel like he was, on pace with Tanita, Tim, Prationader, etc., he just may felt he was just going to lose them all time if he tried to fight them. So, yeah, I can understand it. Assuming that was his rationale, obviously, unless he had a kind of wheel malfunction or something. That, of course, I could also be proud of it. But I think he intentionally let him go.
Well, yeah, so I hope sometimes, though, when you have a wheel malfunction, your car turns a bit of an alien and starts just going all over the place because it's no longer controlled by you. Yeah. It's sort of whatever the wheel decides is happening happens. But yes, you may very well be right. The 12-lap old tyres, it's going to be a good indication, though, for a lot of drivers who put on the soft compound tyre. So we'll see how long they go into. We were told that if you're starting on the soft compound tyres, they should last around 16 laps. So Railgun will be coming in soon-ish. And Tanitsa is still behind the likes of Tim and Frey-Schneider. He probably doesn't want to battle too much because the last thing he wants to do is lose his front wing. He's got a good margin, to be fair, Kodiak, so I don't going to try and win the championship this race, but I think he'd be aiming to win it in Mexico if he can't win it today.
I would say so, and looking at the gap as well, Formula Danny isn't gaining what he needs.
That much?
Still,
no.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise. Unless he's made a mistake, unless he's been Go on.
Sorry, Kodak. Bearing in mind, he overtook Jan Thaler quite a number of laps ago. I can't remember, what was it, about 5-ish, probably? And Jan Thaler's on 13-lap old soft compound tyres. And to be honest, he's hardly losing any time, is Jan Thaler. He's 4 seconds behind, but it's not extending by the rate it is. And you said about 11 seconds when Danny originally came out ahead of these guys after he came to stop, and it's still about 11 seconds. It's gained. The likes of Tanitsa have gained about a second over 3 laps. So it's, it's not a massive impact, as we see Tim on the inside of non-runner and potentially Tanitsa as well going into the inside shots on a bit of a dummy. Good move from the Renault driver, very nicely done indeed. He definitely didn't want to lose any time behind that Red Bull.
No, he did not. That would cost him a little bit. Also, something else I noticed, Garrix was also running the super soft tyres. He's just got rid of them. He did 9 laps on them, and Danny's done 8. Well, Danny's just started the 9th lap on them. So I think Danny's going to have to bite the bullet and get shot of those tyres, or he's going to drag that on for... Well, if he's going to go to ultras, he's going to have to drag that on for 5 more laps minimum and just hope that he can build up time. But he's going to have to do some on-track overtaking, and he's going to have to do it very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Danny is going to have the best on the grid, and they are going to be. They're going to show. He's going to show more of a hand towards the end of the race, because these guys will obviously be on the slower compound anyway, and the slower compound with tyre wear at that. So rather than both being on fresh tyres, the tyre difference of Danny presumably going back onto the super soft is going to be quite big. It'll be probably a second a lap, but it's whether he's going to have enough laps. I mean, let's just say it takes him 22 seconds of a pit lane. That's going to take him around 10 seconds behind Tanitsa. And at the moment, there's only 13 laps left, so it's going to be pretty close, Kodiak.
Oh, yes, it's going to be very, very close, just like this battle is, as Garrett gets on the penalty board as well, with Carrington and Donoso. They still fight each other. Jan Failer just ahead of them on fairly dead soft tyres. He'll be coming in within the next couple of laps to get rid of those. Again, as a reminder, he started... I mean, to be fair, of the 3 cars that started on the soft tyres, he's way ahead of the other 2. Non-runner 9th and Railgun 4th.
He's in now.
12th. And, well, there you go. Right on cue. So 15 laps then for his soft tyres, as non-runner gets his name on the penalty board. That frees up Donoso and Carrington to carry on unchallenged for second and third, or currently second and third. Although Danny is still extending that gap. It's just not as quick as he probably would want it to extend by. Let's check in with this particular battle. So this is Preschneider, Tim and Tanitsa. They are 5, 6 and 7. They will be good to the end of the race. So the one that's out of position in a manner of speaking is Marek. He hasn't pitted yet. Sorry, no, he has pitted, but he will need to pit again. Jan Fader came out in super softs. Yeah, I would go with that, with 12 and a bit laps left. That seems a sensible idea for him to do. Railgon and Matt Sorensen are pretty close together as well, as they are... Where are they? That's turn 9. They're coming through now, so they've just gone through the twisty parts. Heading down towards turn 11 once again. But it's all going to be down to when Danny pits and how long that loses him. At the moment, it's going on, say, 22 seconds. It's going to put him 11th, a long way back behind Tanita.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kodiak. Danny's laps since lap 10, so he's at a 34.6, and he's currently setting, well, it was pretty much a 35 dead, and he's losing about a tenth per lap in terms of tyre wear now, and he's coming into the pits now, so this is a big moment for Formula Danny. He wants to get it slowed down all in time. He's the only person in the pit lane. He won't be held up this time. What tyres is he going to go on? Mercedes cars are out, and it's another set of super soft compound. Let's see where Tanitsa is. Well, Tanitsa's already coming down the pit lane. Formula Danny is still in the pits, and where's he going to come out? If I can find him.
He is.
He just came out now.
In a 8th position, so not as far down the field as I thought, but he is now 7 seconds behind Tanita on very, obviously great fresh and very sticky rubber, but he's got 12 laps to just push like a complete maniac and close that gap down. If anyone can do it, he can, but
absolutely,
he can leave nothing on the table now. This is qualifying laps all the way to the flag.
Yeah, sorry, Kodiak. He absolutely has to beat Tanita today to keep the championship alive. If Tanita gains a single more point than Danny, he is a champion. He's won it because he's already 75 points ahead, and it's 25 a race, and there's 3 rounds after this. So Danny has to beat Tanita. That's his goal for the moment. You were going to have the likes of Timp is on fairly old tyres, and so is Bancolina is also on fairly old tyres. So presumably he's going to overtake them that lot pretty quickly. But when it comes to Tanitsa, he's going to be fighting very, very hard when he sees that Mercedes in his rearview mirror.
This is going to be, if Danny can pull this off, this will be a masterstroke of strategy, in fairness. We don't often see a 2-stop race working well in this league because of the nature of the races, assuming they're dry, of course, or they are mixed conditions, which, as you can quite clearly see...
Kodiak, driver number 1, Formula Danny, pass photon on the inside of turn 1, late braking, hitting the apex, allowing the car to swing out right to not let the Ferrari back through. And that's a very solid job now of the Maggots and Beckett section. He just needs to keep it nice and smooth, and it looks like he's doing that already.
Yep, indeed. So now he's got Manuel Biancalida in his sights, very nearly within DRS range. Oh, well, indeed, he is within DRS range of the Ferrari already. Now coming out through turn 9, keeps it legal just about, using every available. He can actually see the pack of cars ahead of him that he needs to battle through turn 11. So this is going to be, you know, what is the fairly standard on this track. Slipstream and DRS move. The straight is very, very long, as we know. In the slipstream, DRS wide open. Is he going to nail Biancalida before? Oh, he's going to do it on the inside. Nice and simple move. Again, Formula Danny losing as minimal amount of time as possible. And there is his target. It's just 3.6 seconds he's got to close down. Now, this is going to be a case of, will Tanita fight him hard, or will he let him go, yeah, knowing that there's a few rounds left? What part of the racing instinct is going to come out this time?
Yeah, absolutely. If it was me in this situation, I think I'd probably try and defend pretty hard. But Tanita also knows, look how close the drivers in front. He's got Tim and Freischneider literally just an arm's length away. That's going to very much hinder Danny's chance of being able to overtake, because he's going to run into traffic. And that is a very fast lap from Formula Danny, absolutely smashing the fastest lap. Very quick indeed from the Mercedes driver.
That was a bold move as well on the inside of turn 1 for Tanita. He knows that Danny is coming. Danny is flying. He has slashed the gap in half between himself and now Tim. So, and he'll know that. Tanita will know just how fast Danny is closing in. He'll have seen that fastest lap and know that he's got to get on with it. If he wants to defend the championship here, he's got to do it now with whatever life is left in those tyres and carry that through to the end of the race. Through turn 11 comes Freischneider, Tanita and Tim. Now, again, I doubt that Tim's going to act as any particular rear gunner for Tanita. Danny doesn't have DRS this time. Yellow fuel light on the Mercedes, though, so he's got to be careful about how hard he pushes. He's got some laps. Well, he's got, 9 laps to do, so he can back off for a while. He doesn't have much in the battery either, but again, he can back off for a while, stay behind this particular pack and get some of that fuel allowance back, get that battery recharged and press on again. Wouldn't be surprised if Danny did. He's now in DRS range of this particular pack, so again, let's see what strategy plays out this time.
Oh, Denosa's getting himself another penalty, which is a shame because he's leading the race. But he's probably going to finish in, like, I don't know, 11th place at this rate.
How many has he got on the board?
Well, I'm going to have a quick look, Kodiak.
It's at least 6, unfortunately, which puts him behind Freischneider.
Yeah, 6 seconds of penalty. So Danny having a look on Tim. Tim, oh my gosh, he's got to spin for Williams, and that's a little bit. It looks like it's unfortunate because Tim was having a look on Tanita as well, and it just didn't work out. That's lost a lot of time there. Both. Well, Danny's very lucky he has a toss of front wing, and look at the spin. Surely not going to be outside Formula Danny. No, he is. But that was very close indeed to a stunning move from the Merc driver. I think he's going to get DRS and give it another go. I can't help feel, but Tim might be slightly disappointed with that. He's defending very hard.
Yeah, that's
you can see she's going to get the switch back. Is that? Oh wow! That's sublime. Wow, what a move! And he's got the DRS as well to add insult to injury. Williams driver.
Oh, there goes Tanita on Freischneider as well on the inside of turn 12. I mean, yeah, that was a little bit too desperate from Danny. He didn't need to make that move then. He's still got laps in hand. He didn't need to do the desperate move, but Tanita now up into 3rd position. 5.5 seconds between himself and the lead battle. Whether he chooses to sort of push on, he'd have to press on at a hell of a rate of knots to close down 5.5 seconds in 8.5 laps. So that's probably out of the realms of realistic, but Formula Danny is already broken away from Tim by over 1.2 seconds. There he is, chasing off after Freischneider and Tanita. He does not want to let that runner get too far down the road as Jan Failure now joins the penalty board. Over the line does... I wouldn't think this would be a fastest lap from Formula Danny considering the battle he was having with Tim earlier on. But Tanita just... he will know that he's there. But, I mean, what answer has he got? It's all going to be down to hoping Formula Danny throws it off the road because... I think that with the exception of Denoso, am I right in saying that the top 5 don't have penalties?
Yeah, that is correct, Kodiak. I mean, amazing character on him this entire race. He's got the least amount of warnings. He's only got 1 warning so far, and that was on like lap 4. So he's doing very well. Merrick wanted to get even more points for penalties, so he's going to be right at the top. It's obviously bonus points for penalties today, but his team won't be too pleased with that. Oh, he isn't P10. He'll want to keep at least 1 point is better than none. But Jan Fela has a few penalties, so he might be able to keep that. And to be fair, non-runners are a decent, about 10 seconds behind. So there's a good chance. Danny's closing in on Frey Schneider and Tunitsa, and they are very, very close. Tim seemingly losing a little bit of time. I think his tires have probably had the best of it. They're an extra lap old. So I think they've seen better days, which is why Tim isn't quite as quick as he was a couple of laps ago. And you can see the grip difference is making with Danny, even just going round, especially round 16 through to 18. You can see how much faster he is than the other guys. If he gets a good exit here, he's going to get Frey Schneider on the inside of turn 1. Both of them have DRS open. Danny trying to move on the inside, probably running a slightly lower wing, and he has seemingly got the Alfa Romeo driver, and he has indeed. Tunitsa next up the road. This is going to be a very interesting battle, Kodiak.
Tim is really falling away. He's just been overtaken by Biancalila as well. So either Tim maybe he's carrying a bit of damage from that impact with Formula Danny, and or maybe a bit of frustration from it. But there's actually quite a train forming here with Biancalila, Tim, Photon, Matt Sorensen, Marek, and Jan Fela at the back of it. So there you go. That's the view from the McLaren. This lot will shuffle around a lot due to penalties as well. So there's a big old scrap going on there for the tail end of the point. The Formula Danny. Well, there he goes. And Tunisia committed to the defensive line for 12. Made no difference whatsoever as the Formula Danny just flew past.
Very clean.
On the racing line. But again, he's still got that yellow fuel line. Now, whether that's incorrect on our overlay, we don't know. But what is generally correct is the battery amount, and he's got very little left. So he is going to have to kind of rely on extra grip and maybe turn the engine down. What's Nita got on the battery? 44% against Formula Danny's 16. So Danny can't push too much harder, but again, at this stage, he doesn't necessarily have to. He just has to outscore Tunisia to close that championship battle down and make it go another round. But, of course, the more he closes it down, the easier this becomes as Tim goes into the pits. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if there a new front wing waiting for the Williams. Let's just have a quick look.
It's quite interesting, Kodiak. So at the moment, Donoso is still holding P2 just about by 82 thousandths of a second. Presumably Danny's going to close them. There's absolutely no way on earth that he's going to be slower on fairly fresh super soft tyres compared to Donoso's 15-lap-old soft tyres. It's a case of if he can close in with Alvaro Caratons, with the cleanest driver all race, he's basically just sticking behind Donoso and letting him, pull him along, to be honest. Donoso's a pretty quick driver, so he's, Caraton's not exactly going slowly. And Danny would have just about seen them on that back straight. And Kodiak, Danny has gained a second in 1.5 sectors. That's pretty impressive.
Whoa, Marek, big move on the inside of Matt Sorensen, and looked like Photon tried to follow suit. But the Ferrari couldn't go through. Is the Force India going to try and attack Marek back again? Here comes Jan Fela on the inside of Photon as they are fighting through the twisties. Here we go. That's Marek then just assuming the racing line. And Jan Fela has actually managed to get ahead of the second Ferrari. Nicely done, but he's gone very deep. Here comes Photon to try and cut back underneath the McLaren as they now head up towards 17, 18, 19. No, the McLaren just manages to fend off Photon then as they come to complete the lap. Wow, there's a lot of battling going on there. And this is basically for the last of the points-paying positions. But up at the head of the train is Marek in 7th, so there is, and actually just outside of the DRS range is actually Manuel Biancalila. So if particularly the guys on the Supersoft manage to kind of break free, there is some decent points available to them, but that's a lot of fighting they've still got to do. Schneider is still with Tunisia as Timp is in the pits again, unfortunately, so his race has completely unravelled since his fight with Formula Danny. He's coming out in Ultrasoft, why not? There's only 5 laps left to do. Oh no, he's got rid of them. He's going for super softs. So yeah, his race has gone horrible.
Unfortunately for Marek, he's got 9 seconds of penalties, and he's picking up warnings on every other lap. In fact, if he gets one more warning, he will get, unfortunately, another penalty.
It's a shame.
But obviously, a lot of these guys also have penalties, so it's probably more averages out by about 6 seconds or so. He needs to finish ahead of these guys, and he's got to move on Bagolina, and wow, that was pretty close, just tapping the nose of a Ferrari. Luckily, no front wing damage. Formula Danny's still pushing very hard, but still 4.8 seconds behind. Well, he's basically 4.3 seconds behind the win at the moment, because it's Caraton he needs to beat, not Donoso. Donoso has that penalty and is going to fall to probably 3rd place if Tanitsa doesn't go a little bit quicker. Swanson picking up another penalty, so that'll help Marek out
a little bit as that pack continues to fight. Yeah, 4.1 seconds and 4 laps left for Danny to overhaul. It's certainly doable, but he's not going to have much time left by the time he gets there. And oh, there's a penalty for Railgun. He's down in 12th, so that may not necessarily change a great deal for him. There is Proschneider and Tanita, still only half a second apart. I wonder whether the Renault, either through necessity, i.e. he's got nothing left in the in the tank, or is just settling for the position he's in, just keeping Proschneider behind him. But there's nothing to say that the Sauber won't attempt to have a go at Tanitsa towards the well, they're in the closing stage of the race, but you know what I mean. With the remaining laps, Proschneider could demote Tanitsa, and that again will have quite an impact on the championship battle ahead. And then you've got Marek, who's 1.2 ahead of Biancalida, who brings with him Matt Sorensen, Jan Fehler, and Photon. Photon's fallen off the back of this pack, so that's the view from Fehler. It's a lot of battling still going on there. I think Tim's day is done. He's in the pits and doesn't look like he wants to come back out again. So his day is done. A great shame. Was on for a fairly decent haul until that impact with Formula Danny seemed to undo that. But Formula Danny, as I thought, is absolutely flying. But yet again, he's just... that yellow fuel light's still there, and he's still not got much in the battery.
Although it's more than he did have. It's more than 16%, which it was, in fairness. So he's managing it to a manageable level, so to speak. Tanitsa, again, he's about the same. So he's obviously... But remember, these guys would have done loads of research. I'm pretty sure Danny knows exactly where he needs to be deploying the ERS and where he doesn't. So it's no surprise that he's quite good at managing it. He is, after all, one of the fastest drivers on the game. Sorry,
another penalty for Donoso. That drops him.
That's a 9 sec. Is that 9? Yeah, it's 9 seconds now actually for Donoso. That will demote him down to pretty much put him in 5th, and he's unlikely to get any higher up than that.
Oh, for Jan Fehler! Wow, so looking at that scrap with Biancalida, Matt Sorensen and Jan Fehler, the tail just completely let go on the McLaren. He managed to catch it, and without losing too much time as well. That was a brilliant save from Fehler, but that does put him out of striking range for Matt Sorensen. Matt Sorensen, though, on the inside of Biancalida, coming into turn 12, and the Force India's got in that 7th position then for Matt Sorensen. Obviously, that's before any penalties take hold. We'll see. I mean, the penalty count could make these drivers go absolutely anywhere, as well we know. So we're not really going to have a real opportunity to know where everybody is until everyone is over the line. And Jan Fehler thinking about the inside move of the Ferrari. That could be nasty. A little bit of impact. Shove the Ferrari wide. They're still side by side now, coming up through 19. And that is Fehler up ahead of Biancalida. I imagine the Ferrari driver may have a few words about that. It was a bit brutish from Jan Fehler, but no damage caused. No one spinning off. And that is Jan Fehler in 8th.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim getting himself a penalty, presumably just going for fastest lap now. I think he's going to be going very quickly indeed. Freyschneider's still right behind Tanitsa, and Danny is closing in very fast on Caraton. Just over a couple of seconds, and he has 2 laps, and he's gaining by about a second a lap. So it's going to be so last minute if he's able to make anything work. And I think Caraton's pace is very much determined on how fast Donoso is going, because I can't help but feel that Caraton has a bit more of a tank, but just not using it. He has a decent amount of ERS. He's about 40% at the moment. he doesn't have his fuel light on, so I think he's doing quite well. Danny, on the other hand, needs to save his ERS and hasn't got much fuel, so it'll be interesting to see how that strategy plays out.
We saw this at Spa, didn't we, with Formula Danny having to manage the ERS, and he's actually on red fuel, but then they're coming around to start the final lap, so they're probably all on red fuel by now. And there's Tim reminding us he's still with us with the fastest lap. Railgun's gone on to ultra soft tyres, so he's just out there for the lap now. Yeah, I think Formula Danny's had to back off. He's turned his ERS right down. He's got 2.1 to gain and 1 lap to do it. He can't do that without... Oh, Tanita! A 3-second penalty for Tanita. That's very rare. He will only actually lose the position to Preschneider, but that's still an additional 2 points he is not going to get unless Marek has the lap of his life and gets within 3 seconds of Tanita. Then obviously puts him down
Marek
again.
has penalties as well, Kodiak. So even then he would. So it's basically impossible. But
that's so rare for Tanita as well.
Preschneider's got a penalty. Oh. So in fact, that promotes Tanita. Yeah. Presumably, Preschneider doesn't. Well, he won't know that Tanita has a penalty. I know we can see that the drivers have penalties, but the actual drivers can't unless they go into the race director, and I highly doubt Preschneider did that. Yeah. Going through the Maggots and Beckett's section of of turn 5 through to 9 and stuff. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a bit of a lifeline, especially if the championship comes down to like 2 points or something. So then coming through the last few turns, that was turn 12 for our leaders. Of course, we know that Donoso's got penalties on the board. Carrington does not. Formula Danny does not. Tanita does, but it doesn't make a difference because he'll stay in the position he is in. So let us see then how these last few corners play out. Coming through 17-18. It's such a shame for Donoso. He's known for getting on the penalty board, but he's... Oh, is that Timp? Timp has run out of fuel. Oh, he stopped to let the leaders go. I thought he was out of fuel for a second. But your winner here in Kota is the force injury for Donoso. He gets demoted down to 3rd. Carrington is going to be your official winner, with Formula Danny coming across the line in 2nd. Then Donoso remains in 3rd. Tanita did indeed hang on to 4th. Only just. If he'd actually found another 2nd, he'd have had Donoso. So that's how it played out. Preschneider 5, Mad Science in 6th. Failer 7, Marek 8, Biancalina 9, Photon rounds out the top 10. Tim was a lap down, so he's already crossed the line. Here comes Non-Runner to take 11th, and it's going to be Gerrix taking 12th, and Railgun, the stand-in driver in the Sauber, with the ultra soft tyres on. That's gone very wrong, and the scoreboard's having a major moment there. Oh, it is on my screen anyway, but wow.
Yeah, it did not. It seems to normalised again.
Yeah. Well. We just watched Railgun come over the line. Well, he will be in the next few corners. Well, the championship battle's still on.
It's still on. Danny's going to be disappointed losing, 1 position to starting position. Carrington did really well. It's another win by him. I'm pretty sure he won in... Was it France or something? Yeah, he won in France. Did Carrington. And he's added another win. He's a pretty quick driver, Carrington. He was very quick last season. He's still quick this season. Want to look out for the future. Very good job from him. In fact, that win will mean he has jumped Daniele Haddad, obviously not racing, in the championship. So he's now 3rd in the championship, and Danny has closed in to Tanita by whatever the points difference is. I can't actually remember. It's like what?
Was it 18 to 12? So he's gained 6.
So 6. So. 6 is better than nothing. I'm sure he'll take it.
But that only gives, if my maths is right, that would only give Danny a 6-point allowance, basically, for closing the championship down.
Danny picked himself up a penalty, Kodiak, as well. I didn't see that. That must have been very late on.
I didn't see that.
Let me have a look what lap he picked that up on. He picked that up. On lap 25.
Oh,
so
right near the end.
So Carrington should get the bonus point for, in fact, not getting a single penalty and only like 1 warning. So good job from our Spanish driver there.
Well played by the Spaniard. Carrington then takes the win. Formula Danny 2, Fabrizio Donoso 3, Tanita 4, Preschneider 5, Matt Johnson 6, Jan Fader 7, Marek 8, Biancalina 9, Photon 10, Non-Runner 11, Gerrix 12, Railgun 13, and Tim 14. It's the first racing we've had in a long time that hasn't had any retirement in it. So everybody saw the checkered flag.
yeah, it's good when all the drivers are able to finish. Who's your driver of the day, Kodiak?
Ooh, tricky one, but with I don't know. That's hard.
I'd have to say Caraton, purely because his qualifying wasn't perfect, but it was decent. But he drove a very good race. He must have knew Donoso has a penalty, because there's no way he would have been as relaxed as he was behind Donoso without knowing that he's got a penalty. So I think, for me, Caraton is my driver of the day. Although Jan Vela did really well. He finished in P7 and started in P11. In fact, so Matt Sorensen was in 14th and finished in 6th. So he did a really good race as well.
Let's grab in our drivers, and we have got Formula Danny for Richie Donoso and Praise Nadal wanting to have a chat to us. Let's grab them over. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to come and have a chat with us. Let's have a chat, first of all, with the Force Indy driver of Fabrizio Donoso. Well, I mean, you look like you were under a lot of pressure all race long from a Vera Caraton there. How are you feeling after that one?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, to be honest, I opted for a race setup. I only drove, I think, Monday or Tuesday, and that was hallmark practice. I knew that I was going to be very strong in the race, which I proved. I was catching Tonizza and Alvaro in the first stint quite quickly. Managed to overtake Tonizza in the pits. I think he had a massive, he had to eat massively in the pits. I think 7-8 seconds. Shame for him, because he could have been there for the fight between Alvaro and me. Was a good risk from Danny to try to stop. Nearly worked, and congrats to Alvaro, who did a clean race all along. And yeah, a bit of car recording. To be honest, it's my worst track, but yeah, I'm happy with the result.
Awesome stuff. Well done indeed. Speaking of Formula Danny, let's have a chat with our pole sitter. Well, I mean, I was stunned with how quickly you were working your way through the field. Towards the end, did you just run out of tyre, or were you kind of thinking, I'll bring the car home in the position it's in?
Hello, guys. It was a nicely planned race for me, but obviously there are always dirty drivers, and I call his name Timp. I mean, it was so many times that he crashed me out. It was so many times that he pushes me out, turns into me, damages my wing and stuff. He always does these things. I don't know why he is racing here still. He could go to any other game, play Counter-Strike, or I don't care. But simply it's just unacceptable that there is a faster guy behind him. He has already a penalty, and I'm not even aggressive. I could have dive bomb him out and push him off track to the dirty line and make the move easy, but I broke earlier to give him space around the outside. But what he does, he just turns into me, damages my car, makes me lose 3 seconds, and after, even in the next section when I want to overtake him, what he does, he pushes me wide again. Like, what a shitty driver is he? Like, honestly, I can't say any other things like that, because I was so patient with him. I'm always patient with him, and before every race, every single race, what I do, I just pray that I don't get on the same surface of the track with him. But I always do, and I don't know what else should I do. I mean, I qualify on pole. I may should have just done a one-stop strategy, and then I never see him, because it's just so bad that I can race with Presnider, I can race with Fabrizio, I can race with Alvaro, I can race with Spes, Garrix, Photon, Tonizza, Danny Haddad, but with him, no time. With him, every single race he gets into something. I mean, but I can't record, of course, on the other hand, because Nvidia is another fantastic company that cannot collaborate with Codemasters in a way that I always like while recording, even having a more than €1,000 graphic card, the 180 Ti. So it's like, I'm really, really, really angry about that. But of course, there are a few other drivers that can be angry too, because Tonizza had an amazing pace and he got hold in the pit, so it's not nice. And he may have fought for the victory, because he pushed me so well in the first stint that I didn't even have a chance, I think, against him if I chose to go with the same strategy. but obviously I am not happy. A second place is always nice in a field like that where so much quality drivers race against each other, but all the time it's just not perfect, and about stupid mistakes that drivers do constantly. And it's not even drivers, it's only one driver who I have a problem with for like seasons, and I don't know why I still believe that he will give the space if I'm not that aggressive and I respect him and I leave him space. I just should do a dive bomb and that's it, I guess, because I'm just pretty pissed. I'm really, like, sorry for bad language, I don't want to take it personal, and my angriness always stays just for the racing quality and for the race itself, and not the person that I criticize. But for me, Tim is an amazing person. I always have a nice chat with him when I meet him in person, but on the track I just can't accept what he has been doing over seasons and seasons and seasons. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Man of many words, thank you for that, Danny. We've also got Mr. Pracinator in with us. Hello to you.
Hello everyone.
But you were fighting quite a lot of that race with quite a few people. That must have been quite... your heart must have been beating pretty damn hard.
Yeah. I was under pressure a lot, as you said, the whole race. Somehow I managed to not to do a lot of mistakes. Overall, I was really surprised about the quali, because I was only practicing qualifying on super soft tires, and well, I had to make a quick decision to switch on to ultra soft since everyone was on them. But yeah, then during the race, I haven't had a really good pace in the race, but I tried to stay in the slipstream. But in lap 6 I just couldn't keep it up because I overheated my front left tire and I was just losing so much time. And yeah, then in the final lap, when I got once I have gotten the penalty, I thought that it's fine because Tonitza ahead of me probably haven't had any, because when I asked Jeff, he didn't say anything about it. And once I crossed the line and I saw that that penalty actually cost me the podium, that was really heartbreaking. But yeah, it's still P5, so I'm happy with the result.
Your two penalties happened about 2 corners apart. Because we were actually commenting on that very point that Tonitza had actually lost the position to you, and literally a few corners later you sadly got that penalty. So it really was very, very close for when that occurred. But it was good to see you towards the sharper end, and we hope to see you there in the remaining rounds. And finally, we have got Alvaro Carrington, our race winner. You must be quite happy with that one. I mean, you were the only driver in the entire field not to have a penalty on the board. So I think we'll implement Hamish's thought and give you bonus points for that. Well done to you. You must be quite happy with that.
Hello everyone. Yes, really good race. Danny had an amazing pace too, but yeah, probably without the incidents he had, he would have fought to the win. Yeah, I saw Donoso had a bit more pace, but tried to stay behind him to get the DRS and to the end, and that's what happened. I'm very happy. Also a bit luck in the pit because yeah, Tonitza gets stuck and more people, and yeah, everything went right today.
Well driven, well done. We're just going to wrap this one up as we are running out of time. Great effort, Alvaro. Great effort to all of our drivers, because there was a great fighting throughout the field. Thank you very much to those that have been with us throughout the stream. A great pleasure to have you with us as always. Thank you very much to our drivers for putting on an amazing show as always. And thank you to Hamish for being with me in the commentary box, keeping me on the straight and narrow. Always a good pleasure, sir.
Yeah, no worries. It's, as always, some great racing today, and we've seen some top quality racing. Some of the overtakes were just absolutely phenomenal, so a good job from all the drivers.
And thank you very much to our sponsors. Without you guys, AOR would not be where it is. Do catch us next week for what is going to be a pretty interesting race. Well, they all are, let's be honest. But do stay tuned. Plenty of racing going on in the week. But until then, thank you very much and good night.